Welcome back for the final time here in week 7, day number 2 of the LCS Academy Summer Split. I'm Mazel, joined by Rebel Fox yet again, and it's going to be a heck of a ride to finish this out. We are diving back into FlyQuest Academy, taking on TSM Academy after FlyQuest had a very dominant game in game number 1.
Yeah, FlyQuest, I mean, given the fact that they've had that LCS experience, even with Philip stepping into the lineup, you can see the very clear difference in skill that we had between the teams and all the effects that were brought about throughout the game planning. It only took a little bit of time for Jose Diego to really get started into this game and to make those decisions that kind of turned the entire game on its head here over top of TSM, who just, after a little while, I felt like they just weren't even able to find the strikes necessary for things to come through.
Oh man, that fate sealed is huge. And it was the team play that's shown through for me on FlyQuest Academy, especially in the movements early on with Jose Diego. We highlighted it and talked up the jungle matchup and how these individual lanes can really affect that and the movement between the teams, but it was executed to a T from FlyQuest Academy this time around. And TSM going into game 2, I talked to you a little bit before we got into this one, but I want to see the focus go up towards this top side of the map for them. Hyper had some good ideas and some good movements on his part for the Lee Sin, and I think Hyper's Lee Sin had some insane plays, but there just wasn't the focus, there wasn't the shutdown onto Philip that you want to try to take advantage of as this new member of FlyQuest.
Nothing got going fast enough, I think, for Hyper's ganks to have worked in the first place, where it was like you were getting these minute advantages in a team where it's like if TSM were playing a carbon copy of TSM, those advantages would have stacked up and actually given quite a bit of prevalence early on. But because they're playing against FlyQuest, the advantages didn't mean as much. And then also Jose Diego's ganks really kind of turned the game into FlyQuest's favor. Yeah. So all of those things come about from a lot of what happened. There's also we didn't mention a bunch of it, which is we went back and looked at Palafox in the LCS had won 3 games of Yone, only playing 3 games of Yone, and they won 6 games total. So his Yone's cracked. It's just insanely good. And we didn't get a chance to hype that up in game number 1, so I doubt he's going to get his hands on that unless they really desperately don't think it's going to come through.
Too bad. That'd be just being a glutton of punishment there. Yeah. For punishment itself.
We also have the question mark of, okay, TSM, where does their focus go? Because they've got Hyper, who put a bunch of the early game motion in for the side of TSM, planning to play towards Philip potentially to get Haunter ahead. Yeah. Another possibility is you can add to that early game pressure by putting in Takeover. And I won't allow you to know whether Takeover's in the lineup, because I want this to be a surprise for ourselves, which is why, because we get a chance to see. Because TSM, when they've got Takeover in, this team tends to play a lot more aggressively in the earlier phases. He plays some of the Renekton mid lane in the Nocturne and the Lee Sin. He played that stuff, and also has the Rise that you saw from Sword and things of that sort. So having Takeover in the lineup, I think, changes the earlier landscape from the side of TSM, might give them the aggression necessary to attack side lanes a lot more than they did in game 1, and have a lot more concrete advantage than what Hyper alone was able to generate for his team.
And that's not to say Sword didn't look pretty good on the Rise. I thought he had some decent moments in the mid lane, but it wasn't the same, right? It wasn't that same aggression. It wasn't the confidence being built up for TSM Academy. And in this second game, that's what you want and that's what you need. We talked already at the top of this series that this is an important one for TSM Academy. This is, EGA taking 2 wins today puts them just that much further ahead of TSM. And to lose this first one against FlyQuest, yes, it kind of knocks that 2-0 dream out of there, but you got to come back swinging, because you cannot take an 0-2.
Yeah, losing 0-2 puts you in a pretty rough position, where also Dictatos Academy is starting to creep up behind you as well, where you are ahead in terms of series score and nothing else. So you are right at that, or my apologies, that's Golden Guardians. I'm looking at the wrong thing. TSM is ahead of Golden Guardians by a handful of games. Not losing any means that you're still worried that Golden Guardians and Dictatos are both still nipping at your heels, and you're not any closer to Immortals and EG, who are both sitting in 5th, 6th place that are ahead of you right now. And it's a really terrible place to be, trying to actually get your way into playoffs if you're going to keep falling, losing games like this. TSM, to stay ahead of the curve, need this game to keep themselves afloat.
Yeah, need to have that burst forward, need to be able to break out onto the scene, onto the playoff scene for Academy, as we're just getting ever so closer to the end, to those playoffs for Academy. And I'm very excited to see the punch back here from TSM Academy. First of all, we got to figure out what's happening in the mid lane, but after that, we also got to dissect what we could be seeing in this draft and this pick and ban for the second game, because I think that's where the key lies for both these teams. I loved Hyper on the Lee Sin. I loved Jose Diego on the Diana, but we got to see some differences in the tools around Hyper himself to really find that key for TSM, as we do have our draft right in front of us. FlyQuest on the blue side, TSM on the red.
And notice they're rocking Sword here. They're not putting Takeover back into the lineup up against the side of FlyQuest. And the thing is like, I think Takeover has been good on both red and blue side. And in this case, like on blue side, TSM was like, okay, we're going to go for Sword going into the lineup. I think on red side is better because the champion pool was a little more diverse for Sword, has some more options with like mages and things to go to. But man, I cannot... Like, just to pull out stats alone, I'm not saying that Sword has played poorly. Takeover has had a better win-loss ratio than Sword has on this team. He's clearly very good mid laner as well. And it surprises me that yesterday they had Takeover and then went into Sword, and now they're going from Sword immediately into Takeover. And whether or not those two were swapped, it just doesn't happen here. And I'm not sure what TSM Academy's plan is, but you have to think they've got something up their sleeve with Sword. Otherwise, Takeover should be here because I think it gives them a better chance to find some of that early aggression to combat FlyQuest.
That's the beauty of Academy, though. It's all about competition, and maybe Swords just got that one up over Takeover, at least in the team atmosphere. But we are going into the final pieces of the first ban phase of this second game. And it is going to be Gwyn, Zinzao, Aurelia banned away by FlyQuest Academy. On the other side, LeBlanc, Ziggs, just wait on that last one for TSM, but still a lot of focus towards maybe some of the first game bans, as it is the Lee Sin who gets banned away.
Diana is still available if you absolutely want to. Viego's the other one that I was going to point out as being like readily available as well for both of these teams to come out. Callista obviously has been very high priority as well. And Nocturne hasn't really shown its head in bans or picks all that much in recent patch, but here we are having it flexible between Hauntzer and Sword and Hyper throughout the 3 lanes. Still pretty powerful into the likes of those like melee lanes especially. So
I heard that it's pretty much forfeit to take it anywhere but jungle right now. So I want to see I want to see if this is going to be the Hyper and Nocturne coming through as the
he's played it before.
Darned duo of the Aphelios Thresh gets locked in for FlyQuest Academy, and that is a bit spoopy.
It is a kite back combination with a lot of safety to teamfight with into a Callista who wants to throw somebody in. It's a good response into this. It's not a great response because, again, Aphelios still squishy, still capable of being aggressed against, and now you're adding an Alistar into that mix, which means it's really difficult. But Thresh has quite a bit of counterplay here, and Dreams is a very good support to make that counterplay work into the likes of what this Callista Alistar can do. I don't think it's a perfect lane, but you can aggress against it as Callista Alistar, but your scaling isn't as good because even in team fighting, it feels hard to get onto the Aphelios with this Callista ultimate, even in Alistar being able to headbutt pulverize. So it's worse later for the Callista Alistar than normal into some matchups, but it's better early here. And I think they really do have to lean into Cody Sun Yurson now.
Yeah, and as we go into the second phase here, we're getting the bans coming across, but we see as the compositions are lined up here, we're looking at a lot of solo lane possibilities. FlyQuest still have a lot of flexibility on their side with the Viego, but on the other side, as I was saying, like I believe this is going to be a Hyper Nocturne, so looking at those individual lanes, the counter pick for TSM Academy. The bans coming through, though. The Silas Diana banned away by TSM Academy, so taking out both junglers from last game, and on the other side, Rise and Galio for some of that mid lane presence for Sword.
This does mean if it's Nocturne jungle, a little bit of a slower immediate start to the game, and then once you get into the thick of the level 6 and the immediate plays that can come through, you're going to see a lot more aggression. And you're noticing that TSM's drafting a lot more lane strength so that this Nocturne, once it hits that level 6, can really start to make a massive impact because you've got immediate damage and CC out of both your bottom and your top lane right here. With the ability to throw Nocturne into that mix at level 6, there's going to be very easy to access ganks. But FlyQuest, safety with a Kali, really easy. You throw your Shroud up and immediately it's difficult.
Oh, that's so scary. All right, we get Palafox as a Kali here. Going to be nice as a piece to fit in. Not banned away with a little bit less priority, at least in the bans that we've seen recently. I do also want to highlight that Renekton that got locked in for TSM Academy. Nice little piece of the puzzle for them as the Sejuani comes through to complete FlyQuest's puzzle.
I kind of really like Sejuani here as it fits into composition so well because you can work as like in the midst of the team as like this Sejuani like dislocator for things like the Alistar, things like the Nocturne as they dive in, and you throw an ultimate into the members who don't get to fly into a fight, which is like Callista and Renekton, and all of a sudden you split the fight very easily as the likes of Jose Diodo, who allows a Kali to do as she pleases. Viego and Aphelios can play more front to back style. As TSM, they are leaning into this like takeover strategy of aggression early, but they're doing it with a Twisted Fate on Sword this time. Definitely a champion pool selection here, trying to make sure they can use these tools with these cards alongside the Nocturne to aggress into the side lanes very, very heavily.
You thought that Hyper was enabled on his Lee Sin pick, but he's got Nocturne now with support from everybody else. He's got the potential for a lot of join-ups and communication to be fluid, at least between TSM Academy, when they're making the plays that we saw them attempting to make last game.
It's a lot more. I think TSM went from, okay, we are going to take like Hyper, and we're going to go for like advantages out of just Lee Sin attacking the lanes, and now they're just doubling down into this, because also you look at this composition and you're like, okay, Renekton's damage isn't going to scale super well, Twisted Fate doesn't have the most damage, Nocturne doesn't have the most damage, Callista doesn't scale the best of every ADC. It is not a scaling later game composition here designed by the side of TSM by any standard at all. And on the other side, yeah, you got Akali, you got Phelios for the later game, you got Sejuani to try to burst through. Like, it is not going to be simple here if it's not a very early start here from the side of TSM. Their cards are cut out for them. We want to see how much they can get done early.
I love that you use the cards reference with Sword playing TF. Anyways, we are into it. The last game of the evening. FlyQuest Academy taking on TSM Academy.
That it is. So now it's a question of how well can FlyQuest lanes actually counteract what it is that we're looking at from the side of TSM, because you know they're going to be attacking as fast as possible. I'm also curious if in this first like 6 levels during the course of this time, if Jose Diodo can try to find something into the early lanes of like trying to set Philip into a solid place where Haunter isn't able to just bully him with the Renekton. If they can set Palafox into a good place against the like of Sword so that he can challenge into that lane as well. If you can find some of those very early game advantages, even though TSM has a lot of striking power with like what their composition does, if you can put behind these members, the lanes are a lot harder to try to hit. You can stay away a little bit more, that you can bank on that advantage you got early. So I think Jose Diodo does have a window at the very beginning of the game to try to exploit, to find some of the aggression for these lanes so that they don't have to feel the effects of this level 6 coming out from TSM.
Yeah, and that's my biggest like naysay about Nocturne is like, if you don't get involved early, you don't get that early advantage, it's so hard to become relevant, right? Yurison actually getting a nice headbutt, actually pulverized rather, not the headbutt. The combo's not there yet, but able to get a decent amount of damage on the Dreams.
Yeah, really, really well played. And again, this is partly the Callisto with Hail Blade, who's able to pull all those spears in and then rip them out immediately. The CC sets it up from the side of Yursan. So that's immediate pressure into Dreams in exchange for some wave pressure, which is held by Johnson, who now is going to be able to probably set themselves into level 2 territory a lot faster. That's why, despite the health advantage, Yursan and Cody-san are backing up because the health pots were burnt already from Johnson and Dreams.
As we see both junglers heading to the top side of the map, a little bit of potential skirmishing going on with Jose Diodo looking for a mid gank, at least looking to position around that area. As Hyper continuing to farm here is nice. I want to see it, like, they obviously want to get Palafox ahead on this Akali, right? Like, that's got to be a game plan for FlyQuest Academy, because I think Akali just brings so much, especially in the mid game spike and things along those lines. But I want to see when that aggression really comes to bear, right? You were talking a lot about the potential for Jose Diodo to get involved earlier, before that level 6 comes along, before you really get the composition set for TSM. But you've also got to make proactive movements to do that so far, and we're just getting the kind of clears on opposite sides from both these junglers.
That we are. It's the first move from Nocturne, who's able to set up around this top lane, trying to progress against Philip. Again, this is kind of the lane we expected to see, because this is a brand new player, and Hyper wrapped around so quickly, now on the dive here at the very early level of against Diego.
Monster's not going to have a lot of health here. The shot, the flash, that's already first blood. Philip going down. Exactly what we want to see from TSM. This might not be, though. Palafox, expertly done, gets the kill in return.
Absolutely insane right there. Hyper has flash to try to avoid this. Thinks the spell shield is going to be enough to deny the E, the shuriken, but now into mid lane as well.
Oh no, Sword. Oh, but Jose Diodo flashes on the other side. Unable to get the combo there. Sword gets out with his life.
That was a gorgeous exchange right there from the side of FlyQuest trying that. Yes, they burn a bunch of summoner spells. They don't get anything, but I appreciate the attempt nonetheless. As TSM, their aggression into this top lane is absolutely warranted. They're trying to punish the early game, and they're able to find something. Hyper, a little greedy. I think once he knew that the shuriken flip wasn't lost, the flash was effectively wasted, so you weren't going to worry about it. Where he had to flash basically immediately to get away from Palafox, and because he didn't do that, he was just like, all right, I'll save it for later. I'll trade the kill over to the likes of Kali.
Hyper now found out. Palafox still up here. Hyper taking a lot of damage. Has the spell shield available. They've got the damage on Jose Diodo. Flash forward from Hyper. Hyper gets the kill. Now Palafox, the target, is in the shroud. Has a lot of damage himself, but can he turn it? Can he get the kill on the Hyper? No. The answer is, as Palafox gets out with the skin of his teeth. Haunter's got to find this down. Nope. Cannot.
Shuriken flip. It's so close to going down, but Palafox barely gets away by the skin of his teeth. Very, very close right there. Still, I gotta give a bunch of props to Hyper. That flash that wasn't burnt earlier, used right there to deny the Arctic a skin Jose to keep that ego within range. And now 2 kills over to Hyper's not just gold, but it's experience as well. That's getting this Nocturne accelerated to begin the game, as well as that early pressure that got put onto Sword that got absorbed. So none of the summoner spells meant anything out of the mid lane. It's actually really good. Despite the fact that FlyQuest realizes that they can have some early aggression, none of it's coming to boot. That one play, it was the Akali on the top side, and all it has done is it's getting a trade kill here for the likes of Palafox, while Hyper, who's been able to make multiple strikes across the map to some avail.
And TSM Academy making short work of the checklist here, as they've gotten the focus that we wanted them to get. Early aggression from Hyper, able to get that level 3, level 4 dive up there. Does go wrong, but then he's able to return with that kill. And as well on this Nocturne we talked about, like, you don't want to become a naysay or anything, or at least have some advantage in this game. But he's able to find that on the Nocturne. I think that unlocks the rest of TSM. Now the question is, how aggressive does Sword get in the mid lane? As a Shuriken flip comes in, is it enough? No, it is not. Your son was there to punish just in case. And Sword surviving yet again. The pressure absorption this guy has had, as Hyper has now found Dreams, and the stun comes through. Beautifully done, Hyper. No, he can't get the kill, and Hyper goes down to Palafox. Now Sword and Cody's son are here. Cody's son able to pick up his first kill of the game.
Very close. Multiple members being there, I think, unexpected by Hyper, are able to trade him back. But again, Sword tanks another gank into the top lane. We got to trade back and forth between Haunter and Viego.
Dominance popped by Haunter. A lot of damage on the Philip, but Philip still waiting for the execute. Still waiting for some damage there. Haunter almost able to take it.
Yeah, the Bramble Vest definitely did some work right there, denying a bunch of the auto attacks and the healing coming out from Haunter, but you can still see how powerful Renekton is in this earlier stage. As again, FlyQuest, they're trying to make some early moves. This was really good. Also note, the ult and E Shuriken flip from Palafox sets up this combo really well. They just don't have the damage quite yet, and so Palafox has to escape with Dreams. 3 members are here. There's 2 that are really low, and that's why I think Haunter hard commits, thinking Jose Diodo and Palafox can't really support. Kallista's also still a fair ways out. They don't have the ability to get her there faster, and because of that, ends up just being the trade of kills. Dreams doesn't go down. Instead, Jose Diodo is the one that pays with his life. Does go, thankfully, onto Cody Sun's Callista, which is useful as one of these earlier game damage options to force into some of these plays.
Your son not level 6, but going for the dive anyways. Beautiful moves coming out, though, from Johnson. And the TSM dive does not work out this time around.
Not just Johnson, but Dreams, man. That FLYA was good to deny Cody Sun, and the Lantern was able to get him out of dodge as fast as possible to the opposite side of the tower. They're not out of it.
They're bringing another one. You know, it doesn't work the first time. Throw some more at it. His sword is down here. Your son's already dead. Johnson got the kill. And now Dreams, maybe he can survive. Big detonate. That's huge. Hyper is not the focus anymore somehow.
How did he lose aggro?
He was under tower.
Towers. What are you doing, man? You're worse than Nautilus Hook. What is going on? Come on, man. Okay.
That also means that TSM get to go straight for the dragon, as we're going to see a replay.
That they do. Okay, first, initial engagement is really good from the side of TSM and the opposite side, but again, the Lantern is able to get out Johnson just in time. Flash keeps him away, and the FLYA is going to get Cody Sun away fast enough to make sure this doesn't come through. So they bring an additional member to the backside of this, and it looked really sloppy, because I thought TSM was going to end up trading 2 members for 2 members, and you don't want that out of this as fast as possible. So this is the first kill onto Yurson, who starts tanking. Where does this break?
So Sword, okay, now it's on Hyper. All right. Oh my God, he stepped. That is insane. That is literal centimeters. That is absolutely crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know if it was intentional, but what a play.
Big props to Hyper being able to break that by, like you said, centimeters. The little tiny bits, pixels perhaps, separation between him and the tower.
That's better for the
right there. Yeah,
we're talking about video games as pixels. You know how it goes.
It's really close to almost at it. Because if that's 2 for 2, again, The amount that's been traded back onto TSM with this early aggression has led to FlyQuest not being down that much gold, which is good for the team that does scale a little bit later, especially with the early game Akali, but they're not able to quite find it. So just the 1 for 2 ends up being the kill going down. Aphelios did pick it up, which is the one best thing about that situation. So it's not completely just bleedless here from the side of TSM, as they're continuing to make these strikes around the map. They did get first Dragon as well, which is all boding well for their earlier phase of the game.
On the other side, though, Jose Diodo was able to get that Rift Herald, so there is at least an objective secured by FlyQuest this time around. Not the 100% that you want, but it's still good for nothing. As Philip taking a very heavy trade. Now he's got Paranoia right on top of him. Can he get away, though? They're going to go for the dive. I was going to say, Hyper has to flash away. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. Kind of unfortunate right there, because if he flashes and goes in, I think maybe he finds that, because he's got Iron Spike Whip into auto attack that's empowered by Q, and then also like damage that could follow it as well. So all of that maybe culminates in a kill and ends up trading. But again, Hyper doesn't want to give gold to FlyQuest. He wants to try to get gold onto his team, and those two things cannot happen at the same time, because if you're not helping anything, which is the one problem. Note, how is this tower so low? This is ridiculous right now. Rift Herald also in the pocket of Jose Diodo means they could probably just drop it if they wanted to, break out bottom tower, and all of a sudden Cody and Yurson get shoved in forever. I'm saying with Rift Herald they could break it if they wanted to.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, they had the position to do it, but they're going to save it. They're going to go somewhere else, but not necessarily going to get that first tower just yet. Maybe looking to give that money to Palafox on the Akali. He's already 2-0. I would say that's where it's pretty safe to put some eggs into the basket there.
Yeah, he's already had a pretty significant impact, absorbing like at least a little bit of pressure and finding a couple of kills, which is nice, because in that last game, Palafox had really good performances. There's a reason why Palafox was in Academy for a very long time and then got promoted to the LCS, because Palafox was seen as one of the better prospects, one of the more consistent players out of the mid lane, and had some okay performances. Was not the greatest, and then now sits back in Academy, but now you can see what that development has done to him from that time in the LCS, making him into an absolute beast now on the Yone and the Akali, being able to express that skill.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. And now we're also seeing something impressive from FlyQuest, who've made the move across the map. They've repositioned their lanes, given some new lane assignments, and are doing so very effectively, as the Rift Herald's already spawned in top lane. And there's a cluster of TSM members up here to respond.
Interesting, but they decide on this. I think this, honestly, this ended up being a rotation where your bot lane went to top to try to put some damage into top tower, and yes, they only get 2, but you're also giving a Kali solo turret damage and
that was
solo
the plan all along.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this is the big brain move, where they did not care about the Rift Herald use. They wanted to get the Akali, just the solo turret plate on the bottom side, giving a bunch of gold into Palafox, who's able to carry games on the likes of this Akali. If that's the play from FlyQuest, hats off to them, playing some chess right here and absolutely outmaneuvering the side of TSM.
Playing games while playing games. Can't get better than that. Jose Diodo at the top side of the map does take down some vision up here, as Johnson and Dreams want to push this tower in. Jose Diodo aggressing onto the bot lane of TSM Academy.
Man, what is going on at the moment? Like, I feel like there's no action from Hyper or Sword, despite the fact that they're just like trying to push in mid lane, and these two have been under constant duress for like the last minute and a half or something. Hyper only just now coming up to the top lane. Gets caught by Philip.
And Paranoia comes in. He's just trying to get to his teammates here, but the death sentence is going to be just that. Philip gets the kill, gets the reset. Now the Glacial Prison onto Sword. Sword goes golden. You've got Cody sending your son here, but can it be enough? No, it cannot. The reset's coming through yet again, and Philip gets another kill, as they're going to look to your son. Okay, a Heartbreaker comes out from Philip to get away from the tower, and that will be more gold, more towers, more wins for FlyQuest in this game.
I don't know how it is for the last like 2 minutes. FlyQuest have just been able to sit with 4 members on top side, creating this like inability for Cody-san and Yurson to do anything, while also having Palafox just absorbing and crashing waves into top or bottom tower here to get first tower or second tower now after top tower's been pulled. Somehow, TSM's whole game plan was to keep this map in pieces so that Nocturne and Twisted Fate could attack it, but somehow FlyQuest are just like, no, we're gonna sit everyone on one side of the map and no aggression's allowed to come through, because we'll just kill you on your way in. And that's what happened. Hyper just gets caught on his way in. Twisted Fate was in the back, ends up getting caught out too because of the range from Jose Diodo. I don't know how they let that one slide.
And I've got to put a little focus on this right now. Like, even though some of these decisions haven't gone the best for Hyper, the little micro outplays in those moments, even if it's deaths and things like that, this dude is on fire across the board. And so I want to see the rest of the team be able to back him up, be able to show that Hyper is this great carry potential for TSM Academy.
That it is. The turret plates have gone down and bottom tower did not go away, so I think Palafox is upset. He really would have wanted to take that last tower plate and
Guys,
the tower
this was the plan. Come on.
I would have wanted. He almost certainly had that chance. Okay, over the wall.
Oh,
Very dead here,
yeah, there's no way
Oh,
he
wait.
can get out of that combo. Maybe he got away with a headbutt. Nope. Jose Diodo gets the kill.
Yep, that's the no more phase rush. It's now back to Alistar with the aftershock, and so that's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to sprint out of there as fast as possible and get himself away after that combo onto Johnson. This is that play from earlier. He got trapped. Philip cut him off from the mid lane.
Look
and
at
then
this
Twisted
move,
Fate goes
though.
so far back.
Sick. He doesn't get into the bush fast enough, though. But he's got the rest of his team like streaming over to him. Guys, I'm coming. I'm coming.
It's really cute because
that's
wow, that's
max
about as max
range.
range as possible. Yeah, that's about as far as Sword could have gotten hit from. And again, you don't really have much between your Kalista Alistar to challenge into 4 members here. You don't have a cross map coming out for Renekton with the TP, so unfortunately, you're just out of luck right there from that side. And you're right, that cute little move that came out from Hyper, I think was because they were out of vision. They couldn't see much. And if he flashes into the brush, they have no clue where he went, but he wasn't able to get far enough. They were able to spot him out and kill him before he got there. So cool, really neat play. But it means
cool story,
nothing.
bro.
Yeah.
Cody's son gets aggressed on. Your son goes in to save him, but just gives up his life here, no doubt.
Yeah,
oh no, Fate's call. That's beautiful. Comes out to
How are
save
they
him
moving
just
with
at
a
the last
4-man
second.
death squad? They are still grouped as 4. There's no aggression that can come in. At best case scenario,
And
with
another
Twisted
Rift
Fate
Herald.
and Nocturne, you're able to just push with 4 members. Like, they're just denying everything. If you try to aggress against the Kali, she just presses Shroud and she's out of that situation. Now even
the Moonlight Vigil from the distance. Out Paranoia from Hyper. He needs to find a play here. He gets one, but the ADC and Cody's son is gone. Now Sword and Hyper still in the thick of it here. Johnson takes a shot, but that's going to be a flash play from Dreams. The Root CC combo. The death sentence just waiting to be used as Hyper is down to Palafox on a killing spree.
This is miserable, man. TSM had this whole game plan set out where they're like, we're going to attack side lanes, and they don't exist. There are no side lanes. There's no laning at all. As soon as FlyQuest
There's only one lane.
Out,
it's the FlyQuest Academy lane.
It really is. As soon as they could break themselves out of the situation where you had 4 or 3 separate lanes going at a time, they were just like, all right, Palafox, you're up 3 kills. If they go on you, nothing happens. Nothing bad happens because you can ult and you can E and you can shroud and you can keep yourself safe. And then we have 4 members on the other side, and if they ult in with both of them, we know they're coming, and we can use our CC and our engagement directly when you come in on top of us. And that's been the problem here. There's 3 members ready to force. Your son has to push them off with like this headbutt pulverize. The ult from Cody's son comes in just to save him, but like, it means nothing because they can't challenge. There's 4 members here. How did Twisted Fate and Nocturne enter this fight when that much health has been taken off the front line?
No TP available either from the Renekton. He's not back down the fight. Hamster's unable to join the team. And you see Hyper's best attempts here. He does end up getting the trade kill, but it's a lot of advantage gained from FlyQuest Academy after that. And this is beautiful plays from Dreams, man.
It's really good stuff pretty much across the board. And again, when like Hyper has to make plays like this where like he goes really deep in and isn't able to find anything on the side and you're able to break this apart, TSM, they just have no movement right now. And even the Renekton, who's one of their stronger members, has to respond to Palafox because no one else is able to. Like, they just can't do anything into Palafox either. This FlyQuest team looks really, really good so far, and it's very clear like what it is that they're doing right across the board. They're denying a bunch of the win condition from TSM. I'm curious if they're ever going to get a chance to sub some of the members into their main squad. Because I know like Palafox would look really good there, I bet. Like if they subbed in all 5, I think that'd be really cool to give them some time on the LCS stage.
Yeah, definitely so. As I thought maybe Philip was going to get caught down here, but he's got a lot of backup from the rest of the team in the bushes, in the jungle here. And TSM Academy don't feel super confident to go for that kind of play right at this moment. But the pressure stays up for FlyQuest. Says, okay, never mind, they're going to go for it because TP's coming in now. They've also got the Destiny Gate. Can they get any kills here? Hanser is now into the fight, but Beautiful is going to be that. Oh my God, a 4-man knockup. But do they follow it up? They do. Oh, beautiful from Palafox, though. He's on the back. He's taking down Hyper, but can he get the kill eventually? He misses it, but kills it with a perfect execution. Now, Sword flashes the death sentence. Dreams goes down to the TF.
Finally, we see TSM is able to put 5 members together and take a full 5-on-5 team fight. At this point, you still have powerful Kalista, Twisted Fates doing some pretty good damage. You got a bunch of CC to work with when it comes to like your Alistar and your Kalista and the gold cards. So your Sonic Breast here, they're thinking, okay, on the side of FlyQuest, they're like, okay, we can work into this one, we can try to find a way, but there's 5 members from TSM who finally get to put it together. And it's still not a clean fight by any standard on the side of TSM, because it's really tough.
Oh my god, the face call.
He saves that play with that ultimate like coming in from the side of like the Kalista throwing in the Alistar. That's what turns everything. Palafox able to turn 1 kill on the left side of the fight, but honestly, again, this is just really good stuff from TSM, finally able to get what they need to look like the team that they tried to design in the first place.
Oh, that move from Sword, that's a little cheeky flash. Right outside of the range of Dreams, gets the kill on the backside of it. So nice little responsive plays here from TSM Academy, but now Hyper is caught. Hyper is just gonna die as the death sentence comes in from Dreams, and he may be able to live for a while, but Jose Diodo will be there to shut him down.
It is way too easy now because FlyQuest controls so much. Their pick tools are definitely on point as well. They are going for a Baron just to try. It's desperation because it's gold and it's necessary like wave management that they're going to have, and nobody's there to respond, it looks like. So it might just be a Baron pulled off from TSM. I don't know how much this nets them ultimately, and especially with bottom lane just getting absolutely ripped to shreds, they have to pull off of it. That's tragic right there from TSM, because that was maybe their long shot, their Hail Mary, and it's just not going to come through whatsoever. And even worse, now they have no competition on bottom side to go for Dragon, so their Dragon stacking also is just not going to come to fruition at all either. It's tough because TSM's getting run around the map. If they don't find full 5-on-5 engagements and doing these miracle like plays with like the Kalista ultimate and the Alistar, there's just nothing for them to do in this game.
And I'm really wanting to see the second, third items come through for TSM Academy and really find that good spot for Cody Sun on the Kalista. But it's getting harder and harder, and as you said, they've been just kind of dragged around the map by a collar at this point. And FlyQuest Academy have been able to make those movements, and it's all around the strengths that come through from the solo laners, as we see here. Now Paranoia used by Hyper. Is he gonna follow it up? Oh, wait. They have actually found on the side Dreams.
Hey, look at that.
They get Dreams, as the TP is now coming in from Philip. He's a little bit out by himself. He's gonna be in some trouble here. Hopefully we'll catch up to the fighting as Hanser. He's taking a decent amount of damage from Philip and Jose Diodo.
Not going to engage too heavily here, especially because Aphelios is currently destroying their base as we speak right now. So
you know, you don't have to look at that, all right?
They canceled one back. They canceled two back.
Oh, they canceled all of them. They canceled. Yeah, they've got Sword going, but you also might actually find a kill up here onto Philip. He wants to go for some health regen, but it's not enough, and a shutdown over to Hanser.
Okay, we take that. If you're TSM, finally they're able to use these pick tools, and they find a pick off in the top lane. In fact, if Jose Diodo and Palafox stay, they might be able to win this as well. Because it's double summoners available for the likes of the Kalista. The problem is Johnson, and Johnson's willing to just take the smoke and a sword right now, but...
Wait.
Okay.
Oh no, FlyQuest. They've gotten baited. Hyper's here too. Palafox wants to kill, but it can't get it just yet. Maybe onto your son, can he? There it is. Beautiful moves from Palafox.
The Shroud, man. Like, what are you supposed to do now? The re-engage.
Okay, he's going to use it to get away. Glacial Prison actually comes out. As they don't follow it up, they're out of tools. They can't. They've thrown everything at them.
And they've got nothing to fight with anymore because Palafox is out of all of the aggressive stuff, and there is no Aphelios for consistent damage because he's pushing on the other side of the map, which is tough to deal with. As TSM, they finally were able to get some picks off the back.
Paranoia just came off cooldown. That's huge. That moment, this change, and especially a shutdown of Palafox. But no! Dreams! You saved the day yet again!
Can we nerf this champion, please? Can we get rid of the Shroud, please? Anyone? Can I just speak for TSM players everywhere and say that was absolute nonsense, not being able to find that pickoff into that champion? That was ridiculous. There was no Zonias there. The only thing that was protecting was the Shroud, still able to get out on her own volition. That is insane.
Hey Rebel, I got something to tell you here. You know, there's this thing called bans, and there's 5 of them that you get, and you know, sometimes it's worth it to ban a Akali. That's all I'm saying. That's the big brain sight I have right now. But not doing so this time around has led to a 5-0 Akali performance from Palafox. And we're 24 minutes in with a decent, about 3,000 gold lead, a little bit more for FlyQuest Academy. And they used that to feel confident enough to take the Baron.
and they should feel confident to take Baron, only because they're able to use this engage to turn off Baron so easily. They have the ability to position maybe Nocturne and Twisted Fate into the right place, but well, that's
Hyper.
not gonna matter.
Shuriken, Palafox is there. This Akali is thick, but is it thick enough? That's huge. Although the shutdown goes to Yurson. Now the fighting continues as Hanser is there. Almost takes down Jose Diodo. The paranoia, not enough. Hyper in deep.
Hyper too far.
Behind the Baron. He's taking a ton of damage right now. He dies. Johnson gets the kill. But now Johnson needs to be careful. Moonlight Vigil. AoE damage. You've got Philip on the backside looking for the reset. Can the Viego perform a miracle? It's not looking likely. As Johnson is now back up. You've got a lot of AoE damage, but Hanser able to get the kill on that one. Slice and dice puts him in position of power, but they can't yet follow it up. That's a triple kill for the TSM Academy top laner.
All right, TSM's able to finally get a fight to go in their favor. First off, pushing off Palafox, making sure he's not able to capitalize on anything during the course of the fight as one of the most powerful members. Second, they've got a bunch of engage to work with. He's back in to try to find something. Hanser's very powerful, but I don't think he has the reasons for it.
Guess who's back? Palafox. No, was that too far? All right.
Yes, it was too far.
This performance from the Palafox and the Akali is insane. Like this is exactly what you dream of when you get to lock in this champion. We get to see how this crazy fight kind of went down as Hyper getting caught on the side does beautifully to survive long enough, and the follow-up from TSM here, that's huge.
Yeah, they were able to turn immediately onto the likes of Palafox, and then although FlyQuest kind of turn off Baron, I wonder if they would have just turned directly onto this objective and tried for the health, like just like immediately bringing it down, if they would have been able to do so fast enough, because this allowed for the re-engage to come out from TSM. Yes, you lost Hyper, so the Smite fight's gone, but it's not low enough for you to be able to do anything. Philip also does some work in this fight on the back side, trying to bring down members as the youngest member here on the side of FlyQuest. He's able to get Cody-san and almost get Reset City to go in after the Guardian Angel goes down, but unfortunately, Hanser's still powerful, Gold Card still exists, and there's too much here to work with as finally TSM is able to get this team fight that they've been looking for.
Love the triple kill to come out for Hanser on the Renekton, just slowly but surely making the Renekton feared in this one. Dragon goes down, it's over to Jose Diodo as they pick up their second dragon in a row. That's 2-2 in terms of dragon objectives against these two teams, but now Jose Diodo is still looking for the aggression. A lot of members from TSM Academy are on the top side of the map. Hanser's in the wrong side of Albuquerque here, apparently. Took the wrong left turn as he's going to pop Dominus, try to get Palafox back on the trade, but you've got so much damage, so much shielding, so much CC to come down. Johnson gets the kill.
No support right there, unfortunately, from anybody. You can't really ult in as Hyper either because you can't find a play into 4 members, as they've kept this squad pretty much like just locked tight together as much as possible. Now Viego's kind of taking over the split push duty as Palafox can start to like infringe upon everybody else. Yurson gets found as well.
Fate's Call comes out, but he's got Philip on top of him there, so at least that cooldown's going to be burned. FlyQuest Academy feel confident to move forward again. They're looking to take this inhib in mid lane, would unlock a lot of pressure around the map for them. They've also got minions pushing bot, but it might be a bit of an overextension to do so right now.
That it is. Surprisingly, like for the amount of control that FlyQuest have within this game, only being up about 2.5k, my apologies, is a little surprising, just because they've been able to do so much across the map in the earlier stages, shut out all the aggression that TSM's been able to bring. But still, the fighting looks good from TSM when they 5 this 5-on-5. Again, the scaling isn't necessarily there to be able to carry forever, but the CC that they've got is enough to win them fights just off the back that players can't interact with them if they get the right chain going at any given time. So you have to give props to them to be able to find some of these fights and use these CC tools to try to give themselves advantages despite having lost some of the earlier phase where you think that they would have been stronger.
Yeah, and you've got about, at the moment, right, we got a little bit of time here, it feels like. We're 15-15 in the game, just about a 2,000 gold lead for FlyQuest Academy, 3 minutes until the next dragon spawns. This is sole point for either one of these teams, a big moment of power on the Rift because it does dictate the rest of the objectives and how you can kind of play around them. And the biggest thing for me right now is like just trying to find something to grab a hold of for TSM Academy. I feel like Hanser is looking really good on this Renekton. He's 5-2 now. Obviously, Hyper needs to be a main damage carry for his team right now on the Nocturne for the setups and the paranoia and everything along those lines. But you've also got to figure out how to implement Sword on this TF and Cody-san on this Kalista.
Right now, like those who like you got damage from every single source, and eventually it falls out. So you need to find ways to actually carry off the back of a bunch of your CC. The first thing I think is target selection, and they've done a really good job of that. Whenever they find Palafox to focus down, they're able to do it in fights. Johnson's gonna have that same problem, where if you can find Johnson, you can do that. But now they're in really bad position. They know that Baron is going on because they just dropped a blue ward on top of it. It is gonna drive off FlyQuest because they were shoved out very far on the side of TSM. You see how far back they are. Now they're working their way into the jungle to find something. Hopefully this is going to be TSM able to find some mid pressure so that they can go and contest Baron at the time. Right now, Dragon Soul is not going to be a threat for a bit of time. So FlyQuest, if they want to try to accelerate the game, Baron is really the play to do it around. So I don't think TSM's going to give them anything except for a perfect fight setup on their own, except Panzer.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's
Panzer wanted the blue, man. Just let him get it, all right? He's hungry. He's a crocodilian. But he can actually get out. Nice flash over, and there's the re-engage. Four-man face call! Again, the target calling for TSM Academy is clutch! As Cody Sun goes on the wall, he's got a 1v1 against Palafox. He's got the double, but the rest of the fight is huge. And that's an ace almost for TSM as Palafox, the only one. Oh my god, no Palafox. Don't you do it. Do not do it. As he wants to take some more aggression. But a beautiful fight, a re-engage here, and Palafox in some trouble. He's got a lot of members on top of him. He wants to go for it. That's one. Can he get two? Perfect execution not available. Doesn't have the damage follow-up. Palafox flashing away. He gets away. My goodness, he's able to pull back a kill from what was a TSM Academy dominated fight.
It's insane because this started off with a Haunter pick, but again, the amount of engage that they've got is humongous. And while yes, you're all grouped up, it's not even a Fates call, it was a flash Q from Yurson to set that up, which was humongous to set up all this true damage. And Palafox isn't here to try to pick off anybody. I also want to give tons of props to Cody Sun, who was in the face of Palafox and Thresh, found 2 kills, and got out of that situation. Not sure how Cody Sun was able to manage that one with the defenses. And then
against Palafox too.
Ban this champion from Palafox, please. This is so unfair looking for everybody that wants to play this game. This makes this is what drops the win rate of a Akali, because people see it and they're like, wow, that's so cool. But he's just insane on the character. That's why Palafox, absolutely nutty, takes off an additional kill off the back end and makes a little bit of salt in the wound as the Baron play now comes through. Yurson's looking for engage.
TSM Academy on the run here, wants to kind of get into the fight. Paranoia pop. They got the re-engage here. Hyper goes on to Jose Diodo, but they've already gotten dreams now. Hyper goes golden, buys a lot of time. Huge Moonlight Vigil, and now FlyQuest are still getting wiped here. Resets out for Philip, but they've still got to be careful. Look at Johnson on the back. Johnson's doing work, but it's the team as a whole for TSM Academy who have found the advantage, and now they turn to Baron.
They can find these targets, and I don't know how. In every single fight, TSM's able to turn it. First off, Hyper shutting off the lights, diving into backline, cutting off dreams from this team, allowing them to get a pick, and then stalling with Zonias is what buys so much time. I don't even know where Palafox went down as minions flood into the base, but no one's there to push it. So it should just be free Baron, and Cody Sun lived forever on the backline. The shield bow into Wit's End is so crazy to keep this Kalista on her feet, allow her to keep fighting on frontline. Again, my eyes are on Palafox because I do not know where this Kali went down during this fight. But again, it starts off with this massive play from Hyper, who has been this kind of playmaker here so most of the game from the side of TSM.
Palafox gets a little bit dated. The re-engage came through on the dreams, and then after this, just in the middle of everything, that Moonlight Vigil was huge. Palafox goes in on the back, but he gets immediately turned and stunned CC to death.
Yeah, props to Sword. A little bit of anger towards Yurson because he headbutted Philip right on top of Cody's son. But it doesn't matter. Everything played out exactly as you wanted to. Sword finds a nice little flank. And again, the gold part onto Palafox was enough to burst out that player as soon as possible. That target calling has to be in the back pocket of the combination of Pulitzer and Cody Sun, who have been to Worlds for this TSM squad, because it is absolute top level right now. This is a TSM squad that probably should not be scaling into the game just as badly as they are right now, but they are absolutely dominating fights with all of this ability to just CC the enemies on their way in and target them down one by one. It's making these kind of deficits of damage that you would have really not show whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's so hard now. You've got this 4-item spike for Kalista. Cody Sun is maneuvering beautifully on the champion, and the dips and the dives mixed in with this composition is huge. As I speak about it, I cast to curse him because he gets Glacial Prison. Now Hyper in some trouble. Moonlight Vigil comes down, pops the Sterix, but you got Palafox going in all by his lonesome. Palafox is dead. Cody Sun is unstoppable now. You've also got resets coming through. No, you don't. You thought. As Philip goes down 2, and you only lose Hyper on the side of TSM Academy.
Oh my goodness, right now, Cody Sun is tearing through this game. He is a menace on Kalista. They can't kill him. Look how defensive this is. This is Shield Bow, Wits, and Guardian Angel. It's damage. It's a lot of damage, but that sustain is also what's keeping Cody Sun alive in all of these fights. The rest of the team able to support him and pick off these members as they go in one by one. They might not have enough firepower. They've got 20 seconds on Palafox and Philip. Are they going to try to end or maybe force right before to try to drive a fight? It doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
Looks like they might just go for that inhib and get out of dodge. We do still have a little bit longer for our next objective come on the board. They've gotten their 3rd dragon though. Before all that happened, Hyper was able to secure that one, so they're on still point. And what a crazy situation we're in, right? Like there was a lot of good things happening for FlyQuest Academy throughout the majority of this 35-minute game, but now you've got a 6,000 gold lead on TSM. They've been taking fights left and right and doing so immaculately, and this is what you get when you mix in the hyper-focused talent that Hyper has, as well as the veterancy, the know-how to handle situations like this for the TSM Academy side.
It's insane because it's perfect play from TSM where it's like target calling and things like that are going right. That early game where their expectation was Sword Hyper to attack side lanes, it got thwarted so quickly by FlyQuest, and that's why we're kind of down on TSM to begin, because it's like you can't use these tools the way that you wanted to. Now those tools aren't really used the way that they were intended to be, where you cross map, you play into individual lanes. They're used as like these deterrents to make sure that FlyQuest don't get a chance to make a move. It's TSM who's always forcing into fights before FlyQuest is, and making these kind of moves on their own, not allowing FlyQuest to do their own thing, to set up their plays into any situation whatsoever. They do still have the fear that Johnson's on nearly 5 items. Palafox is going to be getting into that late game territory as well on that 4th item mark. There's still all that fear that's there, because FlyQuest isn't weak by any standard. It's just that TSM is playing immaculate League of Legends at this moment, and they've gotten to this point where all of their carries have all the gold that they need to do the successful things that they need to do inside of fights.
Yeah, it's been quite impressive. And on the other side for FlyQuest Academy, right, it's just finding that stable ground for themselves now. You thought you had it with Palafox just making moves on this Akali, but a couple of those engages, a couple of the confidence plays I feel like from Palafox have really cost them. So want to see that kind of, buttoned up situation for FlyQuest Academy as we get further and further.
I'm waiting for Palafox to find a really nasty angle to try to engage from.
Yeah,
because so
exactly.
far, I think the last 2 real engagements Palafox has had have been really telegraphed, and it's been easy for TSM to say, okay, there's Palafox, focus him before he can get the second proc of his ultimate off and can execute somebody during the course of a fight, especially if it's Kalista, because they want to keep Cody Sun up, auto-attacking so that he can sustain health and also do damage, and that's what they've been able to do really effectively. Even 1, 2, 3 seconds of CC is enough spears from Cody Sun to rend out and usually have enough damage into Palafox to bring him down. So Palafox needs to avoid being the center of attention. That needs to be drawn by somebody else. I think Philip is your best option there alongside Jose Diodo when fights start happening, to go into dive mode and find a wraparound angle from the likes of Palafox. What we want from FlyQuest is to figure out where is TSM going to want to fight us and figure out the place that they need to position Palafox so that he can have access into this backline and get a bunch of damage with that ultimate.
Well, I will tell you where they want to fight them. It's at the Dragon Pit, but the Dragon's up in 30 seconds, and the setup is already there from TSM Academy. They're already moving down that way, getting some vision. A couple of resets now coming in from FlyQuest Academy, but I believe they're just going to give this one up.
I mean, it's worthwhile if you don't think you can win a fight here. If you have to wrangle your way into the jungle somehow, worried about the setup that's currently there from TSM, and you don't want to throw this, because again, a superior team fighting from TSM, easy access, throw in a couple of members, and all of a sudden if you're losing 2, you're just losing off the back of that. I think they're comfortable saying we will give over the side of Cloud Soul. It's a big deal, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. It's a lot of move speed to set up a lot of these plays that have come through, but it's not something to break your back over here from the side of FlyQuest. And I'm comfortable with the fact that they realize this and they say it is better for us to be on the map pushing out waves, setting up for Baron approach so that we can contest for Baron, because Baron could be the final nail in the coffin here for TSM to bring out, because it doesn't need much more time for FlyQuest composition to scale. You see 5th item now completed for Johnson. He's got more dominance. If they let him front to back and they let him auto attack in fights, especially if he's got like Infernum or if he's got Severum Crescendum, something like that gun setup, it is really easy to rip through this team from the side of TSM if he's allowed to free auto attack. So they're waiting for those opportunities, either perfect flank from Palafox or Johnson to set up a perfect front to back team fight where he can work his way through the team faster than the side of Kalista can.
And you know, there's a magical moment in a game of League of Legends that we don't get to see very often, and it's when we get to full builds, and especially for ADCs, I love to see it. Now is the time when power is the highest for Cody Sun and Johnson. You have to see how they wield that power in these team fights.
And if you're thinking grand scheme of things, like Johnson's on a stronger character, but Cody Sun has had this kind of experience before, given what we know about Cody Sun's experience inside of the LCS, being the world stage, things like that. And so my preference here is to have Cody Sun, because Cody Sun knows everything about what to do. That's not to say Johnson's a bad player. Johnson's a great player, right? Even on 5 items with an Aphelios, he can absolutely carry the game, but I have a bunch of faith that Cody Sun, who's been doing excellently in these fights, is going to continue to do so because of the experience he's had before. And even to this moment, FlyQuest is not going to contest Baron out of fear. Maybe they will, actually. They just spotted it on that blue board. They're kind of shifting towards that area, but I feel like they really want to get the air-perfect fight set up, otherwise there's going to be struggles.
Yeah, yellow card comes out from Sword. Now FlyQuest Academy move in. Hyper, the only one left in the pit, has to get away. Glacial Prison going to be spell shielded out. Jose Diodo's engage tool is down. Got Palafox on the front, but FlyQuest Academy looking a little bit cautious in their approach, and the rest of TSM.
As they should be. I think what it is TSM is really good at engaging into a pit with the amount of just like distance that they can cover with like Alistar, Kalista Ultimate, Twisted Fate, and Nocturne Ultimate. So you never want to be fighting in a pit if you're the side of FlyQuest. You want to fight them when they're in a pit because it doesn't let them use those tools effectively, which is why TSM's like, oh, look at us, we're on Baron, oh no, we're pulling out, oh, you guys can take it now, oh, go ahead. It's them fooling around saying, okay, FlyQuest, go ahead, just walk into this small box, walk into this barrel, fish. I definitely am not about to take a shot. Like,
can I also say, I love the fact that we see 3 of the blue trinkets on the side of TSM Academy. They know they need picks. They know they're looking for those catch outs, and they want to look for it here, actually. Paranoia is going to be popped there. They go in onto Palafox.
They don't have
really want to take this fight. They got to be really careful as they do, though, because the re-engage is ready to go. Destinance connects on a Haunter. Big damage on the back from Urisan, though, is on the back line, but Hyper is getting low. Big Moonlight Vigil. Is it going to be enough to change it? Palafox has gotten the back line, but FlyQuest are wiped. Palafox is able to get another. That's a triple for Cody Sun. Your son gets taken down for a triple for Palafox, but he's going to be dragged down. Haunter and Cody Sun, no, they cannot find it. That is insanity here at 42 minutes in the game.
Absolutely is. And Palafox is able to bring down enough members in trade. Johnson going down, I thought was going to be the disaster that cost FlyQuest their life here because he was in bad position. But your son so good with Alistar, man. Every time, every fight, he finds the multi-person knockup that's necessary to start things off. It's poking and prodding on both teams, but it's your son who starts it and Cody's son who makes the call off the back of the Fate's call in that one. And it's what allows access into Johnson on the back line. But again, Palafox gets so much done here throughout the entirety of the fight, not to mention that Infernal ultimate was humongous from Johnson on the last legs because he's got Haunter standing on top of him, so he's not going to live. But Cody's son has no access to anyone else in the fight. I thought Palafox might have been able to execute if he was able to find Cody Sun. So good on Cody Sun to change his positioning. And then this right here wasn't all too much. It doesn't matter if your son dies here, but Palafox trading on the opposite side 3 kills. The biggest thing also, Jose Diodo surviving means with Smite, you can't walk directly to Baron and take that despite the health bars being so low. So it's just a trade of a bunch of engage tools and a bunch of stuff between the two teams that leads to ultimately nothing, just a bit of gold back in the pockets of FlyQuest.
That's the beauty of League of Legends, ain't it, Rebel Foxes? We are really far into this game, 43 minutes in. We got a minute and a half until Elder. We got Baron on the table. TSM Academy are here first as Haunter just starting it up, maybe trying to bait FlyQuest Academy into it. But the thing for me in that last fight, I just got to say, like, I felt like Palafox was playing a little cheeky there and could have been the target of TSM, but they weren't able to find him. Now maybe that changes in the next fight as Jose Diodo has a lot of spears in him. Let's get the Rend out. A lot of damage there. Fate's calling out in tow. Moonlight Vigil connects. Gets a little bit of damage, but TSM in a state where they feel healthy enough to go for the Baron because Jose Diodo has to back.
Yeah, Jose Diodo cannot stay around anytime soon. They might just have to give this one away because there's no chance of the fight going well into this if they try. They've got no frontline, they've got no smite. They could just lose the Baron here. I think you just pull off and you try to find a fight. I think that's the best thing. You would give up Infernals or Elder Soul, which would be a really problematic thing. You'd have to fight around that dragon specifically. It gives you 30 seconds for pull-up. But TSM doesn't commit fully. Oh my goodness, they're going to give time for Jose Diodo to get back. And now also, if they push out the top side, they can walk to Elder. This is terrible. Okay, we're getting way too much here. And we're seeing action all across this. Everything comes through. Haunter into the back line, finds quite a bit. Cody-san still kiting, able to find a play into the back line of everything that comes through. Haunter getting bounced around a little bit, but he's still in the front line as well. As that's Cody-san able to clean up on the front line, he finds multiple kills. For right now, as Palafox is, I think, the only surviving member here from the side of FlyQuest, who's going to try to stave off the final push that comes out from TSM, but I think this is going to be it. I think this is going to be the end.
Looking like it, man. I gotta say, Yursan has shown up constantly in this game, but the rest of TSM Academy have shown so much to me in this second game. We knew that they were good. We knew that they could take games like this, that they could take those late game bangers, the veterancy, the everything tying in as a whole package. TSM Academy tie up the series 1-1.
Oh my goodness. That early game was disastrous for TSM. They weren't able to play their composition the way they wanted to, but man, the resolve of this squad to come back with a team fighting comp, to be able to focus down the right targets, a 6-item no boots Callista that just cannot die on the back line, it was phenomenal. It takes such a high level of communication and execution there from TSM, and this is what drives me insane, because they have games like this that are so amazing to watch, and then they have games like game one where they just kind of like sputter out and end up losing, and they're currently in 7th, 8th place right now, and it's so painful because the talent is clearly there.
It's clearly there, and that's what I was highlighting earlier, like where you see these little micro outplays Hyper's able to do, but you see it all come together in this second game where early on it was rough, right? I felt like FlyQuest Academy had so much control over the map, but there was these consecutive team fights where the target calling, the focus was beautiful, and there might have been one or two where the focus wasn't necessarily all on point. Palafox was able to get a couple plays, but in the end, they were able to rise up as a team.
And I could give so much props to every single player on the side of TSM, because I'm sure Haunter and Cody-san, both of them had a lot of carry in this game for how fed Haunter got and also how fed Cody-san got, and their experience likely led them. Hyper actually changed his playstyle mid-game to really be more of like a utility with the Nocturne, but I think that guy on your screen that just caused that engage, Yursan, was insane on this Alistar. The number of engages off the Fate's call, the number of Qs and ults and things he was able to generate picks at the end of the game, and even being that kind of final straw that broke the camel's back in this game for the side of TSM. I cannot possibly talk about this enough because he was insane on the Alistar this game.
And can I just say, what a heck of a final series to have on the day. Is like,
okay. All right, Mr. Mizell is having internet issues. He gave out because, unfortunately, it was just too much hype in the course of this series.
Just too much hype. Too much hype.
That's what it was.
Yeah, gotta love LA internet, just saying. But as I was saying, maybe you guys didn't hear it, but it was just the fact that we got to see the play styles come through for both these teams, right? Like, I feel like there's still things going on for FlyQuest Academy they need to work on. There's a lot of strength in the individual plays, and especially when you're seeing those early game advantages go down to Jose Diodo, it's very scary. But you've got to be a little careful in moments like this when you're getting into those late game fights, when you're getting into those late game moments that maybe you don't have the most practice on necessarily, but you have to be able to take those moments, and that's where that veterancy for TSM Academy shines through. Speaking of veterancy, Rebel, we got Haunter, the man himself, coming in the interview here for the Verizon post-match interview. Very excited to talk to the man himself. Haunter, my dude, renekton carry performance. How you feel about that flex?
Feels all right. I mean, game one was a bit of a rough situation, but I'm glad we pulled it out in game two. That was a pretty fun game to play. A lot of intense moments, back and forth team fights. That's like why you play League of Legends, you know. And thank
I
God
was
we came
just
out on
about
top.
to say. Yeah, at least in those moments, right? All that emotion, you definitely want to be on the winning end of it. But we talked a lot about it post game, where you and Cody's son being like the veterancy coming through for this team, and also having insane carry performances in that last game. What was that communication like in the later parts of the game for you guys? Was it a little hectic, or was it all calm, cool, and collected?
Oh, I mean, when you're playing with your son, this guy is just screaming his head off 24/7. I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go. So it's definitely not calm, but we gotta make do with what we have, right? And I think everyone's just really focused on themselves when we're team fighting, regardless of the comms. And we make it work.
Yeah, definitely do. It's showing through in that second game. I was very excited to see you guys be able to take that one after that first game, and especially with Evil Geniuses Academy winning 2-0 earlier. It was really important for you guys to pick up at least a win here to continue that streak to get up to the Academy playoffs. How has the mindset been for the team as we're getting later on into the Academy season and as we only have a couple weeks left?
Same as always. We're trying to improve, trying to just get better as a team, individually. Yeah, I mean, our goal is to make the top 6 at the very least. But
Yeah,
just same as usual. Just do our thing, take it match by
keep doing
match.
your thing. Yeah, I like it. Rebel, you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot when it refers to some of the younger players, because you got like Hyper stepping in, you have Sword and Takeover, you've got your son who's screaming his head off, and I know I was screaming my head off whenever I saw him do things inside of those fights. Who's your favorite of those to work with now that you've got some of them stepping onto the roster?
Damn, bro.
Just throw him under the bus like that.
Well, honestly, they're just all the treat to work with.
Good one. good answer.
I would
there,
say, like, Takeover. I think he's just like, he's really troll. Hoon is just also really troll and has no brain. And your son
Nice.
also has no brain. But at least Rico's got a brain, but he's just gotta be more confident in himself. So, out of all 4 of those, I would choose none of them.
The true answer comes through at the end. Yeah. I love to hear it, answer. I got one last thing for you, man. You got any call outs, shout outs, anybody you want to talk about here before we let you go?
No, I mean, just take it match by match, just keep improving. And he's gone. Nice.
Yep, I got to miss the whole answer. I appreciate it. I think you provided so much insight. But thank you so much, answer. I appreciate the time. Go celebrate the win at least and get ready for next week.
Yeah, thank you.
That is it for a Verizon post-match interview. And Rebel, it has been a day. It has been a fun one, especially. It's been a little bit topsy-turvy. Gotta love internet issues, but we made it through. We delivered the hype, and we got to see some banger games.
It's been really exciting. These games have been some of my favorite to cast so far on the Academy channel. And they got loud. I gotta ice my my vocal cords somehow. Just like drop something in there, swallow ice cubes, hold something like that. But it's been absolutely amazing watching these players every single week, watching their development. It never gets old. It never gets bad. It always just gets more and more exciting by the day.
It just fills my heart with happiness to see some of these stories unfold. I want to give a huge shout out to Rafa and Cubby, who were covering the secondary stream today. They only had that one series, unfortunately, because of some power issues on the side of Team Liquid Academy, but banger casters nonetheless. Go give them some love. That's it from us here, though, on the main channel. It's been a fun one. It's been a long one. Got to give a huge shout out to all the production team, everybody behind the scenes for making this look so darn good, and especially to you, Rebel, for casting alongside me. Thank you all. And next week, same time.
What a cliffhanger way to end the stream. What a cliffhanger way to end the stream. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you again next week.